everybody. It is Patrick McLain here. As you know, one of your hosts for Reimagine 2020. You guys know we're going 72 hours live, right? So whether you're a college student or general blockchain enthusiast, investor, government, many people we know that are here. I'm excited for this next interview. So I think when we think about applications for blockchain, when we think about how blockchain really ties in, like past, trading coins or trading things on exchange, like how does it actually connect to the real world? I think the next company I'm going to introduce you to is one of the companies really bridging those gaps. So before I butcher it, Alex, how are you doing today? And where are you at? And how's life?
Yeah, doing well. Life is good. As good as it can be. I'm in North Carolina at the moment and building a company called Lolli.
So what is Lolli? Besides, like,
We gotta
when
move
I hear, I
this
think of candy, but what is Lolli?
So Lolli is a Bitcoin rewards application. So we give people free Bitcoin when they shop online. So we keep it really simple. We have over 1,000 merchant partners. I think the most in crypto. We partner with these merchants and they pay us when our users shop their sites. And then we share that with our users, sending Bitcoin to their Lolli wallets. So it provides a very easy way for people to earn Bitcoin for free, as opposed to having to treat Bitcoin as an investment and sign up for an exchange and go buy Bitcoin. Now they can just earn it on their everyday purchases.
Got it. So I definitely want to hear more about Lolli, but I think before we get started, for all the college students listening, whatever, really tried to give them some insight into how people kind of got into crypto, right, as they are thinking about their career paths, etc. So maybe you could tell us a bit, like, what was your past leading up to this? What was that moment where you're like, I really like this crypto or blockchain thing, and what kind of led you up to this point?
Yeah, great question. First off, I mean, we're in day one of crypto right now. So anyone even thinking about getting into it, a good framework is it's just like there's never been a better time than now. Like it's just getting started, it's just the inevitable future. It's not. I think in the early days it was like maybe this might not happen or this is like very very new, but at this point, it's just like the inevitable future, and I don't think you could pick a better, field to get into and a better time. So I'll start with that. How I got my start is I was building a company that I started about 8 years ago with my current team, and we were building a technology that let merchants sell their products anywhere. We were one of the inventors of the buy button. So if you were a consumer and you saw a product anywhere on the internet, you didn't have to be on a merchant site to go buy it. You could see it, purchase it right then and there. And so we called it native commerce. It later got called, the buy button. And so part of the thesis for that was the democratization of commerce. So it's something I had been studying in university. It's something I'm very passionate about. It's creating access for everybody to get involved in this, basically selling on the internet, buying on the internet, and connecting with everybody through the internet. You don't have to be in person anymore to sell something, to buy something. You could be anywhere. And there was so much friction on the internet for even to buy something from somebody. You had to be on their site. You couldn't just like buy it wherever you were. And so we removed that friction. So I think the framework that I had been looking at the future of the world was really good to be like, when I finally heard about Bitcoin, I was like, this is the future I believe in. This is the future I'm building. So I was, I think it was 2014, 15. And I was a couple years into building this company, and I met this guy at a bar, and it was like he had just learned about Bitcoin, and he starts telling me about it's the democratization of commerce. You could transact this one currency anywhere in the world. You didn't need a bank, and everything he said just like hit so hard for me. And I was like, I've been thinking about this. I've been obsessing about this for years, and everything that I had been obsessing about it was like native to a currency. And so if you go back even further, if anyone has experience in payments, the frustration of getting approved by a bank, getting approved by merchant processors. The amount of people you have to pay to send money is absurd. And the amount of money that these middlemen take is even crazier. So I had frustrations for probably, I guess, since I was like 16. So at that time, 8 years of working with merchant processors. So and banks and everything, of like being taxed every which way. So I think if you understand an industry's frustrations, you very quickly, when a solution comes out of the nowhere, like Bitcoin, it just makes total sense. So I couldn't see another path forward. And now I think it's become true. Now there's like a million different ways to pay without friction, without middlemen. It could not be a more exciting space at a more exciting time right now.
Love it. So let's maybe dive in a bit to Lolli, right? So it sounds like you kind of have an experience in e-commerce a little bit, right? Like this is one of your passions. It sounds like you're maybe consider yourself like an innovator. You like to kind of stay at the cutting edge of technology. So like, what was that moment where it hit you with Lolli? Like, and it's in the fact that rewards is a great application and maybe one that kind of transcends individual retailers or being able to spend a reward at individual retailers. Like, where did the crypto connection to rewards kind of hit you?
Yeah, good question. So when we were building our last company, we ended up getting acquired by Rakuten. And Rakuten is the biggest cashback company in the US and many parts of the world. It's actually a Japanese company. And so we go through this acquisition. I start learning about this new business. I was, consulting on their corp dev team. And so I was looking at a lot, like, got under the hood and was like, wow, this is a fascinating business. And we had been studying rewards, platforms well before then, but we were never at a rewards company. So I just saw the sort of the rabid nature of the customer, of a rewards customer. I mean, if you think about it, it's like, if I go to you and I say, hey, I'm going to give you free money for doing something you're already going to do, you're going to be like, yeah, this is sick. I want this thing. And so it's kind of like, it's like the best business in the world. Like, you have a real business model, you partner with merchants, and you get to give people free money that they're really, they're going to be really pumped about. So I saw like how excited customers were about this cashback product and got to know the customer, got to know the product and everything. And then I also saw the flaws that cashback had. Cashback is built on top of fiat rails, and so you need bank accounts in every country that you're in. And so Rakuten has had a very difficult time scaling internationally because every single time they scale to a new country, they have to work within these archaic financial systems. So I saw these two problems, I saw these two aspects of this business that were really interesting. So I ended up proposing, hey, why don't you guys work on top of crypto? It's way more efficient. It would let you give out more money to people. It would let you, move money faster. Well, why would you not do this? And I got shut down. They weren't into it. I had an earnout. We ended up, parting ways about a little over a year later. And after that, I just kept coming back to the same idea. I was like, why wouldn't we do Rakuten but for Bitcoin? Give people free Bitcoin with this, set business model. I had met every merchant in North America over the last 8 years. So I felt like, I'm an expert in this space, in the reward space, in the commerce space, payments. And so, why not take this, my expertise and, do my part to progress Bitcoin. So, me and my co-founder, Matt, we basically just went heads down into like rebuilding Rakuten, but for Bitcoin. We rebuilt it. We got all these partnerships. Merchants were pumped. They were like, we make more money. We get to give more money to build loyalty. And so, yeah, in about six to 9 months, we basically rebuilt Rakuten, the very basics of it, and created Lolli.
Got it. So was there no pushback there? Like when you first brought it to people and said, give your customers Bitcoin, and were they like, what? Or how does that benefit us? Or how are those rewards going to come back to our bottom line? What was there pushback there?
A little bit, but so I think that the best sign was that there surprisingly wasn't as much pushback as I had originally thought there was going to be. So I thought like, so with my previous company, it was a very difficult tech sell. I had to bang on doors for years before people finally listened to me. It took a long time to build these relationships. A lot of these sales took like a year to, a year-long sales cycle. I think the best sign for Bitcoin and the best sign for Lolli was I reached out to these merchants and they were like, we don't necessarily, a lot of them didn't care about Bitcoin, if I'm being honest. They were like, you can give away whatever you want, because a lot of people have given away points, they've given away gift cards, they've given away a lot of different things over the years. We were just coming in and saying, hey, we're going to position Bitcoin similar to points as far as the merchant's concerned. So they weren't really concerned with it being Bitcoin. They were just like, do whatever you want. As long as you're bringing me customers and you can, drive sales to my site, like I'm going to be your best friend all day. And I think we also had an advantage too, because I had made these merchants a lot of money in the past. And so I had built their trust because of that. So it was like, they knew I wasn't coming in and scamming them. They know that I had built a good relationship with them and I'd made them a lot of money. So I was just coming with, this next thing that I was building. So I think initially there was a few merchants that had pushback, and more so because of like their legal departments were like, we can't touch Bitcoin, we can't touch crypto. But a lot of them have come on board since, because we've driven so many sales to their sites or to the competitor sites. And so we can pit them against each other. We can say, hey, your competitor is surpassing you. Your competitor's, selling millions of dollars in sales. Why would you not join us? So there's a lot of, I think, reasons that merchants have come on board, but they're getting new customers. They're getting very loyal customers that want Bitcoin more than anything else, more than points and more than cash. And so they're getting this very, very loyal customer that's been incredible for them. So I think we've built a really strong business, and we've proven that there are additional use cases outside of just payments, and that rewards can be one of the first and the best use case for Bitcoin over time. Today we very much look like a rewards company, but in the next 5 to 10 years, I think we look like a payments company, and we get closer back to our roots. I think that there's very few companies that have merchant partnerships as deep as we do, and that are driving value for merchants. And so the inevitable future of crypto is person to merchant. A merchant doesn't want to pay 3% on every transaction. They definitely don't want to pay 10% chargebacks. So if we can build this relationship with them and we can prove this value to them, when I come back to them in a couple years and say, hey, look, I've driven $10 million in sales, sign here, and this is like, let our users now pay with crypto, they're going to sign all day because I've driven value for them. So it's a way simpler sell than just like knocking on their door like I was 8 years ago and saying, hey, use this software solution, re-platform, here's, this crypto solution. We're playing a long game, but we have a real business model and a real relationship with them from the very beginning.
Well, it's interesting what you said, I think, on the side of kind of like contention or how people perceive Bitcoin, right? Like, and again, like a lot of for all the students or the few thousand students that could be watching this, like we saw that when we came to colleges, right? It was like a lot of the universities were like student orgs, right? And they're battling, right? Where like the schools a few years ago didn't want to be associated with Bitcoin, right? Like we can't have students that are drug dealers or dealing with drug money, right? All these things. Like we fast forward 2 years later, kind of see how the smoke cleared, right? And like, I think the technology, I think the perception of it has, evolved significantly, right? And, I think for the people that are watching this, I'm sure a lot of them probably know what Lolli is. Maybe they don't understand the intricacies of how it works, or maybe they don't know what Lolli is. Can you kind of just walk us through the specific kind of business dynamics of Lolli? Like, where do you guys fit in? Where do the merchants fit in? Where do the retailers fit in? What is that kind of harmony that you guys have built?
Yeah. So we partner with these merchants. The merchants pay us when our users shop their sites. And so let's just say, Jane goes to Everlane to go buy a new sweater. So she's going to go to the site. She makes this purchase. She gets 9% back in Bitcoin. The merchant pays us in cash. We convert that in bulk to Bitcoin. We work with top OTCs, so we're getting like hedge fund rates on this Bitcoin for our users. And then we send the Bitcoin to their custodial Lolli wallet. Then the user can do whatever they want with that Bitcoin. They can move it to their own address, to a cold storage wallet. And it's part of our job as being a super top of funnel product, meaning that we're a lot of people's first interaction with Bitcoin or crypto in general. So when we go to these, when these users get, their Bitcoin from Lolli, it's typically their first Bitcoin they've ever got. So, we need to teach them about what do you do with Bitcoin? What is truly Bitcoin? Because right now, if everybody just uses custodial services, it's basically like a bank for your crypto. But we want to teach people that you can now own your Bitcoin truly by owning the private keys to that. So I very much look at what we're doing is it's part rewards company, but it's also part education company. And we're teaching you why Bitcoin has so much value, why this Bitcoin is way more valuable than cash, because it's freedom money. You can go anywhere in the world and own that same asset and move that asset freely. And that is an incredibly valuable value prop that I think so few people in this world have realized to date.
Got it. And I'm not the biggest retail expert. I mean, I understand a little bit about this, right? Like I make very many bets across like many companies. So I try to stay on top of things whenever I can. But like when I look at the reward space or kind of where this would play, I imagine that like when most, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but like I imagine that most retailers, like when they do either in-house rewards or like some other, program, maybe with likewise retailer or product that kind of like fits their demographic of customer or can retarget customers based to a specific demographic. Like I think of it as they're kind of like, how does this bring business back to me? So do you guys get asked that question? Like, do they ask, why do I want to give these customers Bitcoin? How will that come back to me?
Yeah, so we're not reinventing the wheel there. There's cashback companies have been around since the internet. And so merchants are very used to working with cashback companies and cashback programs to give people Bitcoin or cashback on their purchases. So the way it works is it's basically loyalty marketing, incentive marketing are typically the two classifications for these sort of technologies or products really. And so the merchant is incentivized to go give somebody something, whether it be points, cash, Bitcoin, it doesn't matter for them. They're giving them something, and in return, they're getting their business. So me as a consumer, I can shop at 1,000 different merchants for the same thing. The consumer is in charge. The consumer has the power to shop wherever they want. So as a in a relatively free market consumer, if I can shop anywhere I want, who's attracting me? It's like, win my business. So the merchants that are working with something that I care about, which in my case is Bitcoin, I'm going to go shop at that merchant all day, and I'm going to be loyal to that merchant because they're going to give me Bitcoin back for my purchase, where their competitors may not, or their competitors may not be giving as much Bitcoin as I am. So I'm way more likely to not only shop there, but to spend more there over time because that merchant is Bitcoin friendly, or that merchant is giving me Bitcoin back on my purchase.
So have you guys seen that there's some like, I don't want to say cult following, but have you seen that like it's drawing in new types of users maybe these businesses haven't seen before, or established more recurring users because they're like really speaking their language?
Absolutely. So that was one thing I loved about the Rakuten business model is Rakuten has this cult following even in the cashback world. So I was thinking, this doesn't even exist for Bitcoin, for crypto, and yet people are obsessed with these projects that are like giving them rewards. They love putting money in and getting money out, getting money back. People love doing getting free money, getting money for doing something that they don't have to, that they're already going to be doing, or just like easy and free money back, especially when it's legitimate and it's not some like Ponzi scheme or something like that. So yeah, we saw, people are obsessed with Lolli right now. We have a cult following around Lolli, and thus we've been able to take that devout customer and introduce them to new merchants, and build this loyalty to our merchant partners and to us.
And I know, like, from a legal perspective, like, there are obviously there's like some gray areas, right? Like what coins you can hand out or whatever, right? So have you guys kind of like really battled that part of it where you say, okay, we're going to give away Bitcoin or Ethereum because it's been classified with SEC or whatever, in this non, what do you call it? I'm losing my train of thought, but like security aspect where, like, I'm assuming you guys have been approached by other tokens that want to do it, like almost like in an airdrop type model. But like, is that something you guys talk about a lot internally, where it's you have to kind of toe the line to certain digital assets, and you have to like think about the legal implications of it?
Not really. We really have focused entirely on Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin has already proven its value to society. It's not going anywhere. I think I am excited about Ethereum. I don't think it has truly proven its value yet, and I also don't think it's proven that it can scale. And so I use Ethereum all the time. I think it's incredible in many ways, and more theoretically, like what it should do. I think DeFi is a very fascinating concept. It's democratizing access to finance. It's directly in line with my thesis for the future of the world. I think everybody should be able to do the same things that traders do on Wall Street. That said, I don't know if it's ETH2 or if it's a competitor that comes, that emerges that has a more scalable solution to the promise of ETH. So I think, like, we've been really focused on Bitcoin. We only give Bitcoin right now. And it's not because it's harder to give another currency. We could go probably in a couple days, give another currency to somebody. It's not a difficulty level, it's a trust level. If we go give someone something that doesn't have value, Lolli doesn't have value. Bitcoin, since we launched, we took a bet, and Bitcoin has gone up from around 3,800 up to 12,000. So our users have like 3 and 4x their investment or their purchases. And so we're 3 or 4x better than Rakuten. Like, their money that they would have gotten, let's just say it's $100, is now $300 or $400. They love us. Like, if we had taken a bet on a cryptocurrency that had gone up and down and maybe they lost money, like, they wouldn't be as pumped about Lolli. So now we have this like even more loyal user that is pumped to be using Lolli because their money goes up, and it wouldn't happen in a cashback space. So it's not all about price, but I think, one thing you might be able to relate with is, like, price is definitely, it gets people in the door. People see this price go up. They get really excited about that. They're like, well, why is the price going up? Then you get sold on the principles. Once you learn about, you're like, okay, what is this asset? How do I make money with it? How do I save more money? And, in our case, with a lot of our users, the psychology of how a lot of our users think. And then once you ask these questions, because everybody wants to learn how to save more money. Once you ask these questions, then you start to see, okay, this is way more than just price. This is about principles. This is like the freest money known to man. This is money that is just better money. It lets me move money more efficiently. I don't have to work with a million, middlemen, and thus it has more value than what my existing system is. So that's my, mission. Yes, we have a business model. Yes, we have a lot of companies that are supporting this business model. But my more like altruistic mission is to teach people about the power of Bitcoin and the power of crypto in general. I just don't think we're there yet. To answer your question, I don't think we're there yet to introduce all these other cryptocurrencies to people, because I don't want our customers to get burned. And if they want to go like make all these crazy investments, like, they should do it. That, like, they can take their Bitcoin that they've earned and they can turn it into whatever they want to turn it into. Like, that's the beauty of Bitcoin. It's almost reinforcing the freedom of Bitcoin. Go, do whatever you want. Go learn the hard way of like making these investments. But our customer that customer isn't necessarily like a investor, or at least they're not using Lolli as truly an investment. They're using it as every time I swipe, every time I spend, I'm getting Bitcoin back.
Got it. And I know there's a few like new cool things you guys are working on, and want to kind of pivot to those in a minute. But I think before we jump there, I wanted to kind of go back on the point because I think it's something we've thought about internally for a while, which is I think what is the opportunity for when you give rewards or when you introduce people to Bitcoin, right? And I'm sure there's organizations like exchanges, right, where they obviously have a customer acquisition cost, right? It's a model they have where they're trying to like either bring new customers in or retain those customers, etc. And as you guys probably think about, maybe some people already understand that space, but I'm sure there's a certain portion of your customers that don't, right? So maybe you're introducing them to their first Bitcoin. How do you guys kind of see that role evolving, right? Both in educating them at the core, thinking about it with like larger partnerships with, where a company maybe might want to kind of help hand the torch to like helping kind of accelerate the relationships with customers who own their first Bitcoin, right? How does that kind of factor into your guys' future or how you're thinking about it?
Yeah, sorry, can you like reframe it? What's the
question? So like I imagine that that an exchange that has some rate that says, okay, we'll pay this much to acquire a customer. And then you guys have the ability to say, okay, you want to acquire a customer? When this person buys XYZ, I'm going to get them their first Bitcoin, which in turn has the opportunity to put them on your exchange, right? And then there's this curve between what they'll pay to acquire a customer from what you guys can do to actually accelerate that life cycle of the customer. Right. And then you talked briefly earlier about education, right? So actually educating the customer. How important is that? Like when you guys think about the future, like, do you really see your role starting to pivot? And if you look out maybe 1, 2, 5 years to saying that, while we're able to get people here, while we have these relationships, while we have a competitive advantage because we know retail better probably than most people, and then if you say we know retail better than most people and merchants, plus we know crypto, then you're like in the top 1%. What do you think your impact is on the future as customers come on board to this ecosystem and the other parties that will really benefit from you getting those customers on board?
Yeah, eventually it'll be a full life cycle of the experience with crypto. So we want to be at the top of the funnel. We want to be the first company that people see when they get into crypto. And then over time, we own the whole life cycle. So I think to offer our users the best experience, we do give them everything in the future. Now, I'm not sure how far out that future is, but we on our roadmap, inevitably, we will offer way more solutions that not only let people earn, but also let people get into Bitcoin in other ways. So yeah, that's without giving away too much of our plan. That's the short answer. Oh, you're on mute. I think I can't hear you.
Sorry. Tell me more about the products that are coming up. So I think you guys have some cool new announcements coming up.
Yeah, so we launched our Chrome extension and website about 2 years ago and have had a lot of success with that. And we're launching our mobile app in a few weeks. And so, yeah, it will be US only to start, but it will eventually be international. And yeah, we're really excited to grow that. I think it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna be basically doing a very similar experience to what we have on web, where we give people the ability to earn Bitcoin on their desktop. Now we're gonna be giving people the ability to earn Bitcoin on their phone. So yeah, it's gonna be a cool experience. There's gonna be a lot of merchants that people are used to seeing on web, and it's gonna be native to their phone. So I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited to launch that, and it's gonna give way more Bitcoin to way more people.
Got it. And can you walk us through that a little bit? Like, what does that experience look like? So just what does that user journey look like?
Yeah, so you're gonna be able to download the app, and you're gonna be able to shop and earn very similar to how you would on web. So there's a lot of surprises there, and we'll launch and you'll see it in a few weeks. But yeah, it's gonna be a cool experience.
Awesome. So you and I were talking briefly before this call, right? And we were speaking a little bit like about what MouseBelt does, and I there'll be a few thousand students that watch this, right? So I guess I try to ask this for anybody I get the opportunity to talk to, like, if you were to go back, like if you're a kid, 20, 21, like going to college today, right? And whether you're a CS major, data science major, I'm always surprised at how many like legal college students are like really part of like the blockchain clubs and things like that now, biz dev people. How would you tell these students to kind of think about blockchain?
Yeah, I would say, I always think like do your own research and have fun. Like it's such an exciting space right now. There's so many cool projects going on. Like it's like it's kind of like I feel like we are seeing the beginning of the internet, the next internet, or the evolution of that internet. And it's I would say, yeah, like get involved on Twitter, like get on Reddit, like check out what these new projects are doing, and just start playing around with it. Like I think if you put a couple $100, not to make money, but like clearly it'd be awesome if people made money, but if you put a few $100s to just playing around with like let's just say MetaMask, or getting a little bit of Bitcoin just to see what it's like, what the experience is like, get it, put it on a cold storage wallet, put it on a private keys, like learn about paper keys, learn about all of this stuff. I think that there's never been a better time to get involved. And for me, the best way I get involved is just to play around with it. Like just I mean, I'm clearly biased, but like download Lolli, like start getting your free Bitcoin for stuff you're already going to purchase. It's like a no-brainer. But then on top of that, start playing around with like smart contracts and like learn about this space. Like this is the inevitable future, and there's going to be people that are not that don't continue to learn, and there's going to be people that are crypto literate and are going to probably make a lot of money from this and be a part of this inevitable future. And I think there's two paths. Like you can like sit back and say, I'm only going to touch fiat currency. I'm only going to work within the archaic systems. And then there's going to be people that like build and use this new future. And I think that there's going to be a lot of advantages to people who get in early. The incentives are all aligned in something like this new, something that's this new. So yeah, I mean the way I learn is playing around with things and just using them. So I think just go in and it will probably be even if you lose all of your money, those let's just say that $100 of like learning how the ecosystem works, move money around, like see what it's like in comparison to PayPal or like Cash App. Like it is so much better. You can move money anywhere in the world freely for next to nothing. It is like I feel like you have to move money around in order to, and like play around with it in order to really understand the value of it. And so there's never been a better time to like play around with it and understand like how all these projects work.
No, I think that's great advice, right? Like there's nothing like just taking $100 of it and saying, okay, like what is this? Like what is a wallet address? What is like, what is sending it? What is receiving it? What happens when these gas prices spike up and down, right? Like what are the implications here? But kind of talking around
and one more piece, like you're not gonna like looking back, like no matter how hard that $100 was to earn, or $10 even, like you're not gonna miss it in 5 years. Like think of it like I like to actually think of it as like a college education. Like if you go get a crypto education for $100 by like playing around with all, like moving all this money around and like understanding how it all works, how the ecosystem works, that's the cheapest education you will ever have. And who knows, maybe it'll go up. But like that $100 to go learn how the new financial system is going to work is like priceless.
Could be a lot more expensive. Books in colleges cost quite a bit more. Like
exactly.
So speaking innovation, like, and obviously there's a lot of stuff going on right now, right? Like I feel like about 8 weeks ago, this whole market went crazy. Like everyone starts throwing on this word DeFi, and like all of a sudden everything is DeFi. I feel like sometimes there needs to be Like, I have an interview with Roger Verdemar, who I've talked to a few times, and like I always tell him, like, if he did anything, he was like the unofficial marketer of this, right? So like, if this market had like been rejuvenated, it was like someone had paid some marketing or PR agency to say they poll tested a bunch of people and said, if you just repeat this word DeFi enough times right now, the market's going to catch fire. So there's a lot going on right now, but like, what excites you? Like, what projects are you seeing, or, you know, how do you feel? Or, you know, I'm assuming you keep your ear to the ground a little bit on what's going on in the space. What's exciting you right now? What maybe scares you a little bit right now? Like, what words of caution would you have for people based on your perspective?
Yeah. The most exciting thing in the space right now is still Bitcoin to me. That may be like not what people want to hear, but it's like all these other things, like I had said before, are experimental. And so I treat them as experimental projects. I move money around all the time and learn these, new tokens and smart contracts and all that stuff. To stay up to date in the space is difficult. There's so many moving parts, but every single time I like learn about something, the most exciting thing is like, we literally have what we think is the future of money that everybody can have access to. And people are building some cool stuff on Bitcoin. Like Lightning Network is incredible. It's making Bitcoin more scalable. Liquid, really, really fascinating. Like all these solutions that are being built on top of Bitcoin are unbelievable and are probably inevitable, right? All these other cryptocurrencies, I think, are in many cases theoretical. People basically threw everything up against the wall of like, this is how finance works, and let's recreate it with all these smart contracts. So if you want to get in super early, yeah, like there's 100 cool projects out there. Like, go on CoinGecko and just like, spend a day, going through each project and saying, oh, why is this interesting? Why is this one interesting? Why is this one interesting? Should this exist? Like, yeah, I mean, file storage, there probably will inevitably be a decentralized file storage software. Like at some point, it will make sense for somebody that does not have access to AWS and Google Cloud. Like at some point, it will make way more sense for someone to have a decentralized version of that. And so that seems inevitable to me. Like, I don't know which one it's going to be, but like I've played around with those solutions. They're really cool. I think you should like learn them, but like, I don't necessarily say like I wouldn't, I've never given financial advice to anybody, even though I'm in the crypto space, but like, I would say like they're interesting to learn. I don't know if they're going to be the future of decentralized storage. Like there's like probably about 100 of these things right now. Like I'm not a trader. I don't know which one's going to be the best. That's like an entirely different world. I could spend, like, if you want to go different routes, you could spend your entire life just being a trader in this space and learning it. I'm on the building side. I'm like,
Yeah, well, I want to stop you actually right there because I think it's a good question. And I only have a few more minutes here, but like, it's actually something I think about a lot, right? Where it's something. I'm kind of entrenched in the crypto space. I actually don't trade any crypto. When I tell people that, like, what? And I like to see things get built. Like, I've been a developer by trade. I own a big team of developers. So I tend to kind of be in the same lane as you, which is to say, I just like to build shit, right?
Exactly.
How do you identify that you're different in that regard in this space, to say that like you don't spend all of your time building this stuff and you have maybe found a pretty good application, right? It seems like a very good one. We'll see how big it scales. But like, what would your advice be in thinking of like actual applications of this technology? Like, how do you identify that you think about it differently? Like, what advice would you give to other people?
I mean, there's a lot of different types of people in crypto. There's people who are like traders that come in that like, they just want to, like, if you're a trader, like, yeah, I could see how Bitcoin would seemingly be boring because you don't trade it. Like the best thing to do with Bitcoin is just to hold it. Like, I don't know when it goes up and down, like, or why it goes up and down. Like, sure, I'm in it all day. I literally, at this point, I've probably met every single person that's in the Bitcoin space. Like nobody truly knows when it's going up or down. Like we just all keep building, and the more we build over time, the more value Bitcoin has. So from my perspective, I don't buy and sell Bitcoin. I just hold it. I have as much as I possibly can. And I believe that his value, and I believe that me and hundreds, actually thousands of other people that are building in the crypto or building in the Bitcoin space are going to add value to it. I know Lolli has value. I see it every day. So I spend my time focused on the building aspect of it. Not everybody loves building. Not everybody is a true builder, and that's fine. But that's where I spend my time. Trading is an entirely different world, and building in more of the crypto DeFi space is an entirely different world. Like, I'm building in many ways centralized applications on top of a decentralized currency, which is very different from building decentralized applications on top of decentralized currency. I think that this place, the centralized systems on top of decentralized is the better place to start. That's where I've started. I think this world over here, this like completely decentralized world, is like a bit of a moonshot and a very different world to be building in. But there's so many ways. It's the way that I describe it to people that are new to the space. It's like an entirely blank slate, a wild west. You can come in and imagine anything you want and go build it. Like, it is a crazy world if you're a builder. You can build anything. It's almost like time travel. Like, this is like the way I like to describe it. If you went back in 1995 and you said, here's the internet, you can communicate with anyone in the world, what would you build? Well, now it's clear as day that we would build Facebook, we'd build Amazon, we'd build eBay, we'd build PayPal. Like, all of these things make sense. It's like E-Trade or Robinhood. Like, all of these things are inevitable, right? And seems clear as day because they exist. So look at this new space and say, this is a blank slate. This is like, what would you build? What does the future look like? It probably doesn't look all too dissimilar from the past. So yeah, we're building in our lane. There's plenty of space to build in millions other lanes. Like, don't compete with me because I'll crush you. But I think there's plenty of companies that will be built in the space that will look very similar to companies built on top of the fiat system, and they will have global scale. Like, we are not going to have the same challenges that Rakuten had to scale internationally. We can scale internationally very quickly relatively to our fiat competitors.
And keeping with the spirit of don't compete with me or I'll crush you, what advice would you give? Again, I know we have a few minutes here. Young college student wants to be an entrepreneur. You've been here a few times. Give them, let's step out from blockchain for a second. What advice would you give them about the perils, the highs, the ups and downs of building a company from scratch?
It's hard. I don't do things that are easy. Like, I think that the reason why Lolli is working is because we've put in, it looks like a, overnight success, but we put in 8 years into building this company. It just happened to be, we were building another company previously that was very similar. And so, starting a company is hard. You have to really believe in what you're working on. I mean, I said it at the beginning, I'm on a lifelong mission to democratize commerce. I'm a huge believer. I wake up every day and that's all I think about in regards to business and building. I think you have to have that sort of dedication, and not everybody knows, when they're 20, like what they want to do. And some people don't learn it till they're 30 or 40, but in your 20s, like it's an incredible time to explore what you're passionate about, what you want to do. And you could join Lolli, like, we're hiring. You could join another company that's building something, similar, or you go, if you really feel that you know what you want to do, go build it. Like, in this world, like, life is so short and there's so many opportunities in the space that we're in. So if you're even listening to this right now, you're probably you're ahead of 99.9% of the world. Like, the fact that you're even here, you're already ahead. Now it's like, go deeper down the rabbit hole, like learn everything you possibly can about crypto, learn everything you can about Bitcoin. It is the inevitable future. Like, and you should be building something in the space. You should join a team in the space. And yeah, feel free to reach out. All my DMs are open on every social media. I'm happy to, I might not be able to hop on a call, but I'm happy to respond to people and point them in the right direction. I care more about the future, than I do about than just exactly what we're working on. So, while I said, don't compete with me because I'll crush you, because I will. I do also care that people are advancing the space. So I'm happy to help, good people, and feel free to reach out.
No, love it. And let's talk more later, because we do have like part of the thing, right? So we have 100 schools now and tons of students, and we try to do internships with a bunch of partners and connect all of them. And like, I think there's like 200 students that have gotten jobs or internships, what we do. All right, one of the last things. I do this only for certain interviews, but I'll give away like $500 in books. So if you don't have them right now, or you can say them right now, but if you want to give like some book recommendations, you think some books that influence your life, it maybe 2, 3, 4, I'll give away a few $100s of books to some of the students.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. So the Bitcoin Standard, I think, changed my life in a big way. I think it's an incredible book to understand not just Bitcoin, but also money. I had studied economics in college, and I realized after I read the Bitcoin Standard how little I actually knew about money. So first half is about money, the second half is about what's the future of money, and the second half it talks about like very openly what the future of money is, but it's very biased towards Bitcoin being that future and why Bitcoin. So if people are like interested in getting in the space, I think it's an incredible first book to understand the why of what we're all doing in this space. Like why is money so broken? So that's the first one. The Self-Sovereign Individual is another incredible book that I strongly recommend. And then just as far as like life, I mean, I love Alan Watts. I think he's an incredible and teacher in understanding like why we're all here and giving us like, I mean, at the end of the day, like whether we're, just like doing, on a beach and just enjoying life and like, selling coconuts, or whether we're building, Bitcoin companies, or whether we're building rockets that are going to the moon. Like, I think it's really important to like take a step back from everything that we're building and understand like why we're all here and why we should care about each other as like a species. I think Alan Watts has given me a lot of truth in that. So I think you could pick up, the beautiful thing about Watts is that you can pick up at any point and just like read or listen to anything that he's put out there and just go down this rabbit hole of truth of humanity. So love Watts. And Self-Sovereign Individual and the Bitcoin Standard, I think, were probably my 3 recommendations. Oh, you're on mute.
Got this new microphone, keeps getting stuck. But anyways, I appreciate that. I'll put up $500. We'll give out some students. They'll tweet at you, and let's see how they feel about it. And we'll have a conversation after, and we'd like to spread to the different universities, other job opportunities you guys have, and more pieces of advice you guys might want to give. So I've known about Lolli for a while, kind of observed it from the outside. So it's been very nice to actually like hear your opinion, I think. But I know we're about a minute over now, and actually, unfortunately, we'll have to run to another interview. But before we go, last piece of advice. So you're a 19-year-old kid watching this right now, and you're thinking about building your future and telling your mom you want to work at Bitcoin. She asks you if it's for drug dealers or whatever. What's your parting words here?
Tell her, Mom, I want to build the future of money. I care about access to information, access to money for everybody. And yeah, I think it's an easy sell. My mom, she understands Bitcoin now. She understands why I'm building it. I think there's never been a better time to get involved. So just go heads first, go do it and make it happen. And we're hiring. So if you want to get involved in an internship or anything like that, reach out to me and we'll try to make something work.
Yeah, and let's talk separately next week. We can also help accelerate some of that. And I think especially now, a lot of the students are sitting at home and they're not going back to school, and they're kind of looking for some more interesting things to do. So, all right, for everybody listening, I don't know what point you're catching the 72 hours of us going live, but really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you again for your time, Alex. And, we hope to hear more from Lolli in the future. It sounds like there's some new projects coming out, and we'll have a one-off conversation with you guys about exposing you hopefully more. That's what we're doing with some of the university students, and really appreciate your time. Any last words?
No. Just keep stacking those sats with Lolli and keep learning. It's an exciting world. So everybody stay safe and healthy.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alex, and thank you everybody for watching, and we will talk to you to the next interview. Have a good day, guys.